Ding, 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 everyone. Welcome to another episode of Augmentors, ran by me, George Smith, over at Augmentt. Thank you so much for those who are joining us live. Just giving folks a chance to get in here as we're starting the webinar. Here we go. So as I mentioned, my name is George Smith here with Augmentt. For anyone who doesn't know about Augmentt, it's something you're going to want to check out, particularly with the subject that we have for you today. That's all around cyber insurance. I've got a very special guest I'm about to introduce to you all in just a second from one of our partner companies, Seedpod Cyber. And the reason why Augmentt and Seedpod are working together is to help make cyber insurance actually easier for MSPs. And so part of how Augmentt fits into that is if you're using Augmentt as an MSP, we're simplifying how you guys are securing and managing M365. You can use our baseline templates to rapidly roll out policies and postures to help configure your Microsoft environment, get that hardened for your clients, and then continuously monitor for alerts and changes, policy drift, things like that. And that's all good boxes to tick in the world of cyber insurance. So I wanted to introduce Doug from Seedpod Cyber. Doug, great to have you on the Augmentors. Who are you? Where are you from? Where are you today?
Hey, George. Thanks for having me. Doug Kreitzberg. I'm founder and CEO of Seedpod Cyber. We're a cyber insurance program manager that underwrites cyber insurance specifically through the MSP channel. We sell to and through MSPs to their clients. And today I am in cloudy, rainy Princeton, New Jersey. So
lovely. And Doug, just to get the ball rolling with Seedpod Cyber, and we'll talk a little bit more about specifically what you guys do later on in the show. But I think it's really important to clarify the kind of innovative approach that you and your team are using when it comes to insurance for both MSPs and their SMB clients. And it's important to distinguish those two as well. But am I correct in saying that with traditional cyber insurance providers, you go through a process where you apply for insurance? Sometimes you get it. If you do, that's great. And then a bad thing happens. You go to make a claim, and then the insurer kind of gets out this big notebook and says, okay, well, have you done this? Did you do this? And it's kind of almost feels like they're looking for reasons to deny your claim. Whereas what you're doing at Seedpod is actually the opposite. You're kind of giving MSPs and their customers clarity and transparency into, here are the things I'm looking for and will be asking for and need. And if you show me that you have things like an RMM, like Augmentt, like backup, you're a sophisticated MSP, you're taking cybersecurity seriously. And so not only will you get pre-approval, but you're actually also offering discounts for MSPs and their clients.
Right. Yes. You know, what the rest of the marketplace does in terms of analyzing cyber risk is they look at an application and they may do some external scanning to get a sense of whatever they can pull from the outside as part of their process. And you know, you mentioned transparency. There's still a lack of transparency that they have when they're underwriting the risk as a result of that. And that creates a couple of things. One, it creates, because I as a carrier don't have transparency, I've got to price it up more. I have to price in the uncertainty there. So your premiums are elevated to the extent that I don't have transparency. The other is, and you know, and I don't want to make this as kind of a peanut butter spread across the board, but it does open up the doors to, at claim time, a review of the environment, and there may be some differences in how and often it could be unintentional in how that application was completed. These questions are often vague. They're certainly tough to understand if you don't have a technical background, and even if you do have a technical background, you're trying to fit maybe between a yes or a no checkbox on an application, and you don't know how to do that. There. So we've taken that off the table. We pre-underwrite the tech stack that MSPs are offering their clients. We align it to our underwriting standards, and we're upfront of what we're looking for we base our standards against CIS, Center for Internet Security Controls. And to the extent that the clients are on that tech stack, they're pre-approved for coverage from a technical standpoint, and then eligible to save, as you mentioned, on their premiums. The average.
It sounds like you're finally speaking a common language as an insurance provider to the sophisticated world that is IT and digital advancement, right? And being able to leverage things, as you mentioned, like the CIS framework, and kind of speaking common frameworks and languages, so everybody knows, yes, this is a yes, this is a no. And this is a question that can't be answered with a yes or a no. Like, do you use MFA? Yes or no? That's not a yes or no question, right?
Exactly. And in our formulation of the underwriting criteria and which standards to look at, we certainly looked at within CIS. There's implementation group 1 and the standards that are there, but we also talked to the MSPs, and we talked to them about, and we talked to security experts as well, of what's really important and for especially in that small and medium-sized businesses. And we also looked at claims data to say, where are the claims coming from? And let's focus on those risks. So let's take a practical approach and not just put a lot of controls in there that could be that are good, but maybe not really hitting what we really want to achieve here. And that's the other approach, is we want to do this in a sensible way, a practical way, a way that our MSPs understand, and we often communicate with the insured about these, a way that they even begin to understand and say, yeah, that makes sense.
Well, and you have some stories for us, Doug. I mean, that's what we're here to. I kind of promise people some horror stories, and you and I have known each other for a few years now, and I'm gobsmacked by some of the tales that you tell. But there's 3 that we're going to focus on specifically today, and the first one, which is, I don't want to say one of my favorites, but certainly one of those shocking to me. I guess we'll call it sort of all about the small print. And it's a story about an MSP who experienced a breach and thought he was doing the right things, but that wasn't quite the case, was it?
No. And, MSPs, if anything, what they want to do is they want to help their clients. That's what they're in business for. 100% of their focus is on that. And in this situation, there was an incident that occurred to clients of an MSP, and the incident was the result of a third party that MSP was using that was hacked, and the hackers were able to get into their clients. And what the MSP did, which is almost part of their DNA, is their goal was to help their clients get back up and running as quick as possible. And that's exactly what they did. And so they went client by client. They marshaled their resources. They spent over $1 million in getting their clients back up and running, which they were able to do. And they had coverage. They went to the carrier and to say what they did, and they were expecting to be covered for it. And the carrier turned around and said, this is the first we're hearing about this. Did you let us know this ahead of time? And they said, no, we were spending time working on our clients and trying to get things up and running. We didn't have time to sit and give you a call. And the carrier said, well, I'm sorry, but we're not going to honor your claim. And any claims that come as a result of this, we're not going to be able to honor either. So, and the MSP said, well, what are you talking about? And the carrier said, well, here's our policy, and here's where it says that in the event of an incident, before you do, and I'm paraphrasing, obviously, before you do anything, you need to contact us first and get prior approval.
Which is truly crazy in this day and age, if you think about it. The fact that some type of alert or system-generated notification could come through to an MSP, let them know, look, bad things are happening, and you're 100% right. The immediate response and intrinsic motivation is to fix that thing, stop the breach happening. No, let me just go over to my other monitor here and Google my cyber insurance team's phone number and let them know that there's an active breach happening, but just wanted to notify them first so all their insurance administrative processes could be ticked off so that, I'm adhering to that particular policy.
Right.
It just sounds crazy.
Yeah, it is. And the approach that we do is different than the scenario that was just described. Is that first of all, in terms of general, because we focus on the MSP channel, we know when events are hitting MSPs, and so we're on top of it, and we know who's being impacted. The other is we work with carriers who also know that we're working with MSPs, and they understand the type of coverage that we're presenting. Doesn't have the fine language. Actually, these carriers want the MSPs to get involved to triage, to stem the bleeding. And they don't want to be perceived to be in the way of
like
that.
you're going to reduce the claim itself.
Absolutely.
Like the quicker you can sort of fix the dam, as it were, or put the wall back up, the less damage there's going to be, and so the less expensive it's going to be for that insurance provider.
Right. Exactly. And the one thing they don't want to have happen, and this does sometimes happen with MSPs, they don't want the MSPs to kind of feel like they can't reach out or have conversations with the carriers or share information while they're going along. It's really should be.
Imagine you're an MSP, Doug, and you get a phone call from a client who knows bad things are happening, and you, the MSP, would say, "Oh, give me 1 second. I just have to hang up and call my insurance provider first." Like that's,
right.
Regardless of what happens, even if you fix the issue, you're probably not going to have that customer, that kind of interaction, right?
Exactly. It would be the same as saying, well, before I talk to you, Mr. and Miss Client, I've got to have my lawyer on the line, and just to make sure this is a privileged conversation. It's not going to go well.
Well, Doug, it's clear, like you're obviously an authority and expert on the subject. You've been in the insurance game a long time, and I know from personal experience and from speaking to lots of MSPs, the paperwork and the wording and the bureaucracy and administrative paper trails all associated with cyber insurance can feel pretty overwhelming to MSPs, not only whenever just trying to obtain their own coverage, but also now they're in a scenario where their non-technical SMB clients are coming forward and saying, "Hey, I'm getting cyber insurance, but you're my tech guy, you're my MSP, so don't, drop a massive 4-inch pile of paper on their desk and say, I need you to complete this paperwork." And so the MSP is like, well, one, I'm, not your insurance clerk. Two, I don't maybe even understand some of the wording or what these questions are asking. And three, I don't want to put my name on a legal binding, piece of paperwork pertaining to your insurance. So yeah, you have another story kind of around, we'll call it honesty, I guess, where, I think the moral is, do not try and pull the wool over, insurance carriers' eyes whenever it comes to labeling, discussing, admitting what you do or don't have.
Right. Yes, this is a story that where a client had a policy, a cyber insurance policy coming up for renewal in I think it was January. And one of the questions on the application was, do you have MFA across all sensitive assets? And they said yes. And in March, they had a ransomware attack. And so they called their carrier. The carrier came in. They brought their forensics in. The forensics was looking through their accounts, and they discovered the source of the attack. And it involved an account that did not have MFA. It was an administrative account that did not have MFA. It was on a sensitive asset. And they realized there wasn't really MFA existing across the sensitive assets there. And what happened is the carrier decided they rescinded coverage. They didn't even deny the claim. They rescinded the policy, meaning they didn't have coverage at all. And
not only was the claim was denied, they actually just pulled everything back and
they pulled the policy. Yeah, okay. You they didn't use these terms, but you lied on the policy, and therefore you lied on the application. You rendered the coverage void, null and void there, and so that business was out, had to take on the expense of and resources of getting back up and running from that attack.
But that seems to me, Doug, like it is a bit of a tricky situation, because maybe I'll give the MSP the benefit of the doubt. It's a very pointed question. Again, it might not be verbatim, but something along the lines of, do you have MFA on all, serious or needed assets? And then not having MFA on an admin account, that could be something that maybe, just didn't get set up right. The point I'm trying to make is, it may not have been a malicious attempt to purposely lie. It may have just been something missed. And through that, I guess we'll call it negligence or a mistake, not only was the claim, well, like you say, not denied, it was just coverage was fully rescinded. Is that something that you think is a big tripwire and pitfall for folks, particularly MSPs, like not having all their T's dotted and their I's crossed when it comes to configurations?
Well, I think it comes down to more the lack of clarity in the language that's on the application itself here. When you say, is MFA deployed across all sensitive assets? Well, who's defining what a sensitive asset is there? Can you show us refer us to a standard in which that's mentioned, so I, as an MSP, or if I'm the business, I can look at and see what's the reference there. It's different than saying, is MFA deployed for all remote access within the environment? Is MFA deployed for admin access on the local level there? And so it's a language issue. And I think whether you're an MSP or you're the business, and the business ultimately is the one responsible for what's on the application. They're the ones that sign it here. If you don't understand the question, you can ask. You can say, I don't understand this question. Also, if the question's asking kind of a yes or no, or it's a black and white answer and it's gray, write down the gray. You take the time and go through it there. Our approach is different. We simplify that process. We have a lot more clarity up front, but if you're filling out those applications, it's important. It's important to be honest, certainly, to the best of your abilities, and to provide a complete answer as opposed to just an answer that you think is being asked there.
Yeah, I feel like for a lot of MSPs and SMBs, completing these applications, it can just become so cumbersome and kind of left with this lethargic feeling of going through this intense paperwork. And the language definitely can be one of the number one, I guess, barriers to one, completion, or to an actual honest or true reflection of what protocols and procedures and protection is in place. But for those that take the time, for those MSPs that take the time to actually even increase their understanding by 10, 15%, there's a real big opportunity in the market right now, isn't there, Doug? Right. When it comes to growing your business and also being somewhat of an authority on the subject as well. You've seen examples of this with MSPs simply saying, you need to have this, you need to accept the services that I'm offering without any edits, and here's the price, or you don't get cyber, or you're not covered for cyber insurance. Is that something that you're seeing on your end as well, that cyber insurance is actually becoming a really effective lever in MSPs' sales conversations and when they're looking to grow their business?
Yeah, absolutely. MSPs are at the intersection of cyber insurance and the cybersecurity itself. And to the extent that they understand what the carriers are looking for, they line it up with their tech stack. They can use the insurance as a mechanism, either as a stick or as a carrot, in order to get them to buy upstream and improve their MRR. We've had a couple situations ourselves. It's been more on the carrot side, where We had a $40 million engineering firm that was looking at a $10,000 premium, and we were able to offer terms of $2,000 for the same coverage, but it required that company to improve their identity management system, and so we had obviously an MSP partner. The MSP partner had the opportunity to do that. It increased fee income and MRR for them. We had a similar situation with healthcare where they saved 10x on their premiums there. And so there is the opportunity to kind of lever that insurance and especially the controls that the insurance is looking for as part of your overall positioning of your product and services.
Yeah, it seems like a great opportunity for MSPs to almost act as a bit of a guide to say, look, we can help assist with some aspects of you obtaining cyber insurance, but I can tell you right now, your risk profile to the insurer won't be attractive, and we can introduce you and have them even express their opinion directly. The good news is that I can actually give you the plan, the project, whatever is needed, or a price that can lower that risk profile and make it much more obtainable for you to get cyber.
Yeah. So, and we've been on calls where we have kind of been the heavy, so to speak. We're the big bad insurance saying, if you don't have this, you're not going to get insurance. You can go to anybody, but this is what you need to have. And please go back to your partner and get that accomplished. And it's almost as we've been doing this, we're having more. We're certainly helping those that are already on the tech stack. We're probably helping a lot more firms realize what they need in terms of security than even those firms that have got religion and are there. And it's been great for the MSP partners, certainly in terms of embedding their relationship even more so. And it also scares me because if these businesses are insured with someone else, I don't know what they're putting on their applications to say they have, because when
because you know what they have, and you have an understanding of, well,
right.
You don't have this, or I know this isn't quite what that particular carrier is looking for, and not up to scratch. So there you are, folks. That's interesting. If you need a bad cop or a heavy, there you go. It's a great point, though. It really is. I feel MSPs. A lot of them would admit maybe not the best salesman in the world, and certainly coming in and saying, look, you need to have MFA, you need to have this, and I've got to charge you for it because I'm a business too. Sometimes that's a difficult conversation to have. Whereas actually bringing in an insurance expert who is, preparing and helping push through the insurance to say, you're not getting diddly squat without these three things here. So pay your MSP to get those set up and implemented, and then let's talk. But that's a very, very strong sales.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. We've have just rolled out this new claims calculator to help MSPs kind of share the cost of risk with their clients. I was talking with an MSP yesterday about this was an actual claim. A financial services firm had a business email compromise where they paid out, wire transferred $1.5 million to somebody who wasn't who they thought it was there. And when you're sitting and you actually can share that to a client, you can then say, this is 1.5 million. This is how much our security costs. And oh, by the way, you can get the insurance as well. And this is how much this costs. You've just reduced 1.5 million of exposure at a fraction of the cost there. And not only that exposure, but a number of other exposures that could be hitting you. That can be powerful conversations. And we want to help the MSP have those conversations with their clients.
And Doug, it's also important that I want to come back to the start of the conversation. You're helping provide guidance and sort of the heavy hand for MSPs when it comes to their clients' cyber insurance, but you also offer MSPs themselves cyber insurance. And so I wanted to talk about, is there a distinction between those two sets of policies?
Yes, for the MSP, it also includes tech E&O. So we provide protection for that MSP in case they're sued by their clients or other third parties due to a perceived negligence or other aspect of their business. And often, the couple of things that we counsel MSPs with regards to it. One, make sure that what you're doing is actually covered under the policy, because often we'll look on their website as an example and see all the things that they're saying they're doing. Then we look at their policy and to see what it says it's covered, and it may only cover 2/3 of what they say.
That's a great point. So make sure that your cyber insurance policy matches what you're broadcasting and advertising on the website, because maybe the marketing side wants to say, hey, we do all this and that and we're great, but actually whenever it comes down to some things written in black and white, that could bite you a little bit.
Yep, absolutely. And the recent CrowdStrike incident really focused from an insurance standpoint on something called contingent business interruption. And you're going to want to make sure that you have that, because your tech stack is built on third-party applications and solutions that you rely on to do your business. And that contingent business interruption can cover you in the event of that. And then there's also, with CrowdStrike in particular, a component called business interruption due to systems failure. And that's due to failure that isn't the result of a hacker. It's just due to a failure by the mistake, like what happened in this last incident. So you want to make sure that you are paying attention to those coverages as well.
Okay, so if you're like me, guys, and you're already going, there's a lot of insurance here, a lot of paperwork, slow down. It's okay. I'm with you. But we'll do a brief summary of things to kind of go away and make sure that you have in your policy, or things to look for, and maybe things to read up on a little bit. So Doug, you mentioned E&O, which stands for errors and omissions. That's going to be a critical policy.
Right.
The MSP's policy. And within that, you talked about business interruption. So that's where, for example, something bad happens in our industry that impacts your capability as an MSP to provide the services. And so if something bad happens as a result of that, it could fall under the E&O. But it also sounds like you said within business interruption, there's multiple bullet points of what falls under that. One of them you mentioned is business failure. So for instance, CrowdStrike, there was a business failure with a software update that, knocked out half the world's IT. That would fall under that policy. But that would be different, say, from a business interruption that came from malware or some type of cybersecurity attack, right? So it's very, very important that MSPs understand those different clauses.
Right. And so, just as their eyes may be rolling in the back of their head as we're talking, unfortunately, many insurance brokers' eyes roll in the back of their heads. And therefore, it's important that they're working with someone who really understands their business, but also understands cyber insurance, the tech component as well. Work with a specialist.
That's it. And that's you, Doug. You're like a marriage counselor for the husband and wife that is the MSP and their clients and the insurance provider, right? Making sure sides are understood and validated and get what they need. That's great. Well, listen, we're almost out of time. I want to give you the opportunity, Doug, to maybe speak. I mean, I think you've given us a really good idea of what Seedpod does already. It's all about pre-approval. It's giving that transparency for, hey, here's what we need, even taking that a level further with MSPs to go to their clients and be that voice of reason and expertise. But if people are interested to talk to you, to learn more about Seedpod, about your offerings, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
The best way is info@seedpodcyber.com. You can send that out. I'd give my name. It's alphabet soup with spelling, Doug.Kreitzberg@seedpodcyber.com too.
And Doug, for those, a lot of MSPs are very used to working with, software and tech vendors where there's maybe a demo or a trial or things like that. Obviously, it's a different process for you and your business. What did the first few conversations look like with you if someone's kind of wants to dip their feet in the water with Seedpod?
Yeah, what we do during our onboarding call is we actually take a couple cases, a couple clients that they have, and we do what's called a pre-underwriting approach. So we'll actually say, here's what the terms would be based upon the information we have, so they can get a sense of what the terms we're providing. We'll also provide them with what we see the market would be coming back with that same, and to give them a sense of what the value is too. We also look at we understand, what's the type of businesses that they like to bring on as clients, because we help them in terms of lead generation efforts in providing leads, of businesses that they want and businesses we'd like to insure, so that we can help them grow and we can obviously get the insurance at the back end. So we do talk about, how do we help them market for new business, as well as improve the MRR on their existing client base.
And last question, Doug, you do offer a discount for any MSPs who are using Augmentt. Can you just explain why that is, and why you prefer to work with MSPs who are using platforms like Augmentt?
Well, absolutely. And we could have a whole conversation on that. There's a 10% discount for any client that is using Augmentt on the platform. And the reason that we're offering this is really at its base, in one aspect, Augmentt is providing us with a sense of what's the shadow IT, what's the assets within the environment that you wouldn't normally know is there, like somebody adding Dropbox or using ChatGPT in the environment. And then also what Augmentt has done with regards to its securing O365 environments is just phenomenal. And the ability not only to secure it, but to have transparency, to be able to look as an MSP across your tenancy to see where the businesses are, is another reason that we value the partnership, because it really helps us understand risk, and we can offer the discounts as a result of it.
And to your story earlier with the admin MFA, if that had been an Augmentt, it wouldn't have been an issue because they would have known about it, from the get-go, and you would be able to say, I think that's the key thing as well, the reporting and just the cleanliness of getting that information. So if you are interested in talking to Doug, make sure you hit up your Augmentt account rep first, get all those reports ready, because he probably will be asking for some of those, and you can say, look, here's the status of things in a nice, clean, branded Augmentt report, making things nice and easy and helping to catalyze that conversation. Doug, thank you so much for your time today. I really, really appreciate it. We'll definitely do another one of these again soon, because this topic's too big just for 30 minutes. But for anyone who is interested in speaking with Doug, the information will be in the description below the video that is being recorded and will be available on YouTube. Thank you so much for everyone who joined live. And if you're watching this at a later date, please give us a like on YouTube or LinkedIn when you see the recording. Thank you so much.
All right.
Have a good afternoon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.